Hello, and welcome to my backyard. I am Alan Black, principal cellist of your Charlotte Symphony. For the past 3 months, as we have all been struggling to find our way with this extraordinary COVID-19 event, I have been wondering what I could do to make a difference. At first, I felt a little helpless about it all, but as the weeks rolled by, I realized that I could fulfill a dream that for me began more than 5 years ago. After buying this house in 2013, I drew up design plans and hired someone to build that covered deck that you see behind me that my wife Donna and I call our pavilion. Since one of my lifelong hobbies is house renovation, I realized that with a little more work, we could turn the backyard into a beautiful venue to host outdoor concerts of chamber music and nighttime concerts with all genres of music. So, for the last 4 years, I have been working on creating what has become an outdoor oasis for us, but one that we have not used yet for concerts, until today. Welcome to the Charlotte Symphony's Concerts al Fresco. For the next few months, we will bring to you videotaped chamber music performances by my colleagues in the Charlotte Symphony and other musicians from the area. Having taped 4 shows already, I can tell you that we are all so excited to be back in the saddle again, doing what we love to do, and it has been wonderful to see and hear these talented people that I have missed so much. Each concert will include about 25 minutes of music, interspersed with conversation with some of the musicians involved. In these concerts, you might notice that we are sitting a little farther apart to reach 6-foot distancing when possible. And while we are not always wearing masks, when any one person feels it necessary to wear one, we all do. I want to give a heartfelt thanks to the management of the Charlotte Symphony for helping with this project. They have been incredibly supportive of this effort and really given great latitude and trust in designing the presentation of the content of these programs to me. I also want to thank all the musicians who are playing for donating their time and talent with good cheer and enthusiasm. As I said earlier, it has been so wonderful to see these great people again. But I also need to give a huge shout out to Bob Rydell, his wife Chris, and son Sean. Bob, a horn player in our orchestra, does the taping, the editing, and the recording. Chris and Sean usually come to help set up, and each concert we present involves at least 3 to 4 hours from start to finish, an untold number of hours editing. We are literally talking about hundreds of hours of donated work for our collective benefit. It is their efforts that truly make this happen, and I cannot thank them enough for donating their time and talents. And finally, before the tape rolls, I feel compelled to say that with the events of the last few weeks, we are dedicating this first performance to hope and healing for our community and for the country. Now more than ever, we need the beauty of music to bring us together, lift our spirits, and console those who grieve. As a member of the Charlotte Symphony, I think I can speak for my musician colleagues and tell you that we are eager to see all of you at a future performance on stage at the Belk Theater. But until then, we hope you enjoy our Charlotte Symphony al Fresco concerts. Thank you so much for watching. Hello, and welcome to our very first Charlotte Symphony Concerts al Fresco. And with me today for our very first concert is Andrea Mumm, our principal harpist. And we're doing a program of some Vaughan Williams, some Arvo, Saint-Saens, the Swan, and a Bach, whatever that is, you guys...
Prelude.
A Prelude. Yeah. And it sounds like, it's just incredible.
That's one of my favorite Bachs. And of course, we steal Bach from piano literature because clearly Bach didn't write for us. The harp as we know it today definitely was not in the time of Bach. The harp I play on, the patents for that design of the instrument are actually only from the early 1900s.
Oh, wow.
So it's relatively, in terms of musical history, it's relatively a new instrument. I can go into that if you want me to, but it's kind of boring. But yeah, no, that Bach Prelude is one of my favorites. It is something I teach to almost every one of my students that comes through my studio. It's a great introduction basically to Bach and the harmonies and how to phrase Bach. And it also has to do with some technical aspects because there is some chromaticism, so you have to figure out your pedals and all that. But the climax of that Bach Prelude still gives me chills, and I've been playing it for like 20 years.
So let's talk a little bit about what we're playing, and the first thing that strikes me is that all this repertoire that I'm playing with you is I've done it with piano.
Mm-hmm.
None of this repertoire is actually written for harp, and yet I have to say that I've actually enjoyed playing it with harp in a lot of ways more than I would with piano. There's just something about the way the harp rings and the way that we have to think about phrasing that's different than a piano. Because in a piano, well, you have to pluck every string, and you can't always pluck at the same, like you can't pluck a 10-note chord. And
Yeah, actually, real fun fact, we actually only use 4 fingers on each hand. So if I were to do a 10-note chord, it would involve lots of crossing over. So in that way, we're definitely different than pianists. But also, our sustain is something that we have to factor in when we're playing chords and stuff like that. A piano has the sustain pedal, and then as soon as they release, it's dampened. That's the nature of the instrument. For us, we have to think about our ring and what is already vibrating, and so we don't buzz on the ringing strings because it's such a surprisingly percussive instrument. We have to think about a lot of extraneous things. But playing piano parts sometimes can be awesome, sometimes it's crazy because we're not great at the chromaticism like pianists are. But especially like in the Parrot, it was really cool to have those sustained low notes, but the harp basically controls the decay. I could like throw a hand down there and muffle, but it's kind of cool that it just kind of fades into nothingness, but it takes a long time
yeah,
for those
there
big fat
were
strings.
a couple of notes that were at least 10 seconds,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
15 seconds that
Oh, yeah.
but we'd be moving to a new key and it would still be there, and it was so awesome to listen to that.
Yeah.
As I'm playing my sustain notes, which were very long. And so for me it was really amazing, and I loved like the Vaughan Williams that we did. We both really like the fourth movement is the one we like, right?
So pretty.
And that's another one of those places where with the harp it just sounds magical, and it's really amazing to be able to play a piece that I know those 6 studies a lot because I've done them a lot over the years, and they're some of my favorite pieces. But when I did it with you for the first time, like it was like a new piece because everything's different. we actually have a connection that goes a long way back. Makes me feel really old. And that is her parents were at Indiana University when I was there. I think we overlapped by a year.
My mom, yeah.
With your mom.
Yeah.
And so she was there when I came as a grad student, and she was in her last year as in grad school or as a undergrad?
You know what? I don't know. I know she did both her undergrad and her grad.
Yeah.
I don't know which years you overlapped, but
Yeah. But one of the things that's interesting about Andrew's parents is they're both musicians in the Met Orchestra, the Metropolitan Opera. So I'm very curious. You must have some amazing stories about hanging out backstage or in the pit with them.
yeah.
Anything you can tell us that's safe?
Yeah. I actually didn't realize how special that was as a kid until I got to college and I heard the reactions of my fellow students being like, oh my gosh, your parents are in the Met. It didn't occur to me that it was something strange or abnormal, but my childhood was basically running around the Met, which is pretty awesome. I was in the kids chorus growing up.
Oh, wow.
So that helped me develop a good musical ear. This is before I started playing harp, actually, when I was a little kid. So I was in productions like Tosca and Eugene Onegin and all that kind of. So basically for me, though, it was just playing dress up and singing a couple of bars and then getting shooed off the stage by the chorus director. It was just, the costumes were amazing and we had stage mommies. So I had basically one of the chorus regulars was paired with a child just to like kind of keep an eye on them in scenes where you had to walk on stage. So my opera mommy was the best. And I would be able to peek over the pit and see my parents playing, and my mom would like turn around and look up on stage. It was magical. But I also took lessons, I guess, at the Met. My very first teacher, Susan Jolis, who is one of my idols in this world, she was my very first harp teacher. So sometimes we would have lessons down at sea level where the pit is, in between her entrances in like Wagner operas, because the harpists in Wagner operas have like hours sometimes of rest before they enter. Like I know when we did Flying Dutchman, I played the overture and then the last like 10 minutes of the opera. So I was able to go home and like do a load of laundry when we did Flying Dutchman.
What?
But yeah, I know. And like put in a loaf of banana bread or whatever I do. But yeah, Susan would sometimes teach me in between entrances, and I would bring my homework if I was in the kids chorus and be in the cafeteria listening to this fantastic music and everything just while doing my math homework. But my favorite all-time memory is my dad is an avid poker player, so he actually has a standing poker game during the intermissions at the Met, because intermissions are so long with the stage moves. It ends up being sometimes about half an hour, so they do a quick cash game of poker. But one of his poker buddies, who I've known since I was tiny, Howard was one of the principal horns of the Met. And he saw me doing my homework backstage for one of the Wagner operas. He said, Andrea, what are you doing? I said, just my homework. You want to come see something cool? Yeah, sure. So he takes me backstage for Götterdämmerung, and there's a famous horn call. So he's pointing out the hydraulics of the stage and what the stagehands are doing and all this kind of really cool behind the scenes stuff, and then he's like, hold on 1 second, and plays the famous horn call, and then goes back to pointing out the stage. He plays the horn call like it's no big deal. Of course, it's a huge excerpt for every horn player, but it was just one of the coolest things I've ever seen, was seeing exactly how the opera works behind the scenes. It was magical, honestly.
Especially a place like that where they've probably got every bell and whistle you ever for any staging.
Oh my God. Like live animals, and the stage lifts up. I mean, the back of the Met is cavernous. They can fit multiple sets all back in there. We used to have a print on our wall growing up of how many different stages there were actually behind the real stage, so they could just push sets back, and it was basically like Tetris.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does anybody know Tetris anymore?
I do.
And then to play the Swan.
Oh,
What the thing that cracks me up about playing the Swan with harp is that, like, when you do it in the orchestra as part of Carnival of the Animals, or if you do it with just regularly, there are usually two pianos.
yeah.
Like, so you're playing like both piano parts together, and it sounds fantastic. So it's been a great first concert.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed playing with you, as I always do.
Thanks, Alan.
And thank you so much for joining us for
Thanks
this
for having me.
special first concert.
Appreciate it.